Kia ora, no mai, hara mai, welcome ki tēnei wāhanga I tēnei pō. What a, kia ora, kia ora, kia ora. Welcome to From Darkness to Light, inspiring conversations with survivors of childhood trauma and abuse. And what a pleasure it is to be with you and spend the evening with you tonight. Ko wai tēnei, he uri nā Ngati Kaungunu ki te Wairoa, tamakai Moana tūhoi hoki e mihi atu ana. Kia koutou, kia koe. It is a pleasure and honour to be here tonight, spending time with you this Friday night. I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation. I've got an incredible wahine toa coming all the way in from Perth tonight. But welcome, no mai hara mai. This is Ihi, Intuitive Healing Intelligence platform. And Intuitive Healing Intelligence is a platform created to share, I guess, indigenous, ancient, intuitive knowing and understanding and trusting in the knowing that we come from whakapapa, greatness, ancient, incredible, amazing ancestors. We, along with other things, we also have the power to self-reflect, to look inward, to truly understand what and how and the pathway forward that we need to take for our own journey in healing. So welcome to Ihi, Intuitive Healing Intelligence, ko Sister B tēnei, ko Benita Tahuri e mihi atana ki a koe, o tira ki a koutou katoa. Hei tīmatanga mā tātou, tuia ki te rangi e tūnei, tuia ki te whenua e takoto nei, tuia ki te Moana po kare nei. E rongo I te pō, I te ao, I te pō nei e. As it is written in the heavens and the stars, on the lands and in the seas, so too it is written in the division between night and day. Nō reira, tēnā koe, tēnā koutou katoa, ngā mihi, welcome, no mai hara mai. This evening we're going to bring on our guest, and I'll bring her on right now. Kia ora, no mai, hara mai. Welcome, welcome. What an honour it is to have you with us this evening, Donna. Thank you for sharing your story tonight. I'm really appreciative, and the knowing that your story, my story, and actually all our stories have the power to unlock somebody else's prison, is a key in some instances. That one thing that somebody says that someone else resonates with and has that moment of, yes, I know what she's talking about. That happened to me. That connects with me. That resonates with me. So welcome and thank you so much for sharing tonight. I have had a conversation with you, so I know a little weeny bit of the story, but I'd like to just say kia ora and welcome and a big, massive thank you. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Sister B. Thank you for having me. I'm really nervous, so yeah, I'll just go with the flow with you.
Good on you. You know what? Nervous is good. You are doing incredible things. I know that it's not easy to share in a public forum. It's not, what do they say about public speaking? It's the worst fear of all, even more than death. So you're awesome already. You're already winning. You're already walking that talk, and it's awesome to be here with you tonight. So Donna, you're coming in from Perth tonight. Yes, live from Perth. Yeah, awesome. Mm-hmm. And how long have you been over there?
Since 2011. I did go home for a stint, my husband and I, back in 2015, and I think we only lasted about 6 months, and then we come back again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Lasted 6 months. Yeah.
Oh, at home?
Yeah. It was just, struggle. Yeah.
So tonight we're talking you're our guest, and we're talking with people each and every week on From Darkness to Light who are survivors of childhood trauma and abuse. And so tell us a little bit about your story. Tell us what happened. What happened for you? What's your memory? What's the story?
Okay. From the age of 6 through till I was 15, I was sexually abused by my stepfather. It was something that happened, just about every single night of my life in that period. And the damage it caused was unbelievable, and it lasted right up until I was 49 years old. So suffering mentally was, it was a real big strain. It caused a rippling effect on myself, my children, my husband especially, through to the Maunga Tangata, right the way through to every single relative that I knew that actually knew about it. So yeah. He was a Ratna priest. And so probably when I was in I'm really bad with dates, but I actually pressed charges. And how that came about was quite funny, because I had heard that my stepfather was having an affair. So I went to my mother and I said to him, you've got to leave him. She already knew that he had sexually abused not only myself but a couple of other family members. And I thought,
let me just take stock of all. That's a huge, huge thing.
Yeah.
So we're just going to have a pause, and I'm going to just hold the space. And for anybody listening tonight, I just want you to, if any of this conversation is triggering or causing you to be uncomfortable, just take note. I will put numbers up, or please make sure that you make contact with somebody to have a conversation about anything that's coming up, because we are talking about really heavy and serious issues and experiences here tonight. So I just want you to make sure and take responsibility for how you're showing up. Also, right now, Donna, I just want to check your mic, because I'm getting a little bit of muffly. Your voice is a bit muffly, so I wonder if you could just try without the thing plugged in, without the earphones plugged in, and we'll just have a check. Let's have a check. So the numbers, there's some numbers if you're in New Zealand, scrolling across the bottom page there. So we're just going to hold the space for a bit. Thanks. And how's that? Try that.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
That's perfect. That's way better.
Oh, okay, cool. I thought that was perfect, but yeah,
No.
fine.
Very good. So thank you for sharing. So I just want to bring some points up. So sexually abused from the ages of 6 to 15 by stepfather. Right, huge. I just want to acknowledge your sharing and the potency of that, just those words tonight as they are being released out into the universe today for us all here live. And so where do I want to go? 6 years old. What was, tell us. So I know you talked a little bit about it, but 6 years old, there's a 6-year-old girl. How often was the abuse happening?
Probably just about every night for the whole duration of that time, from 6 till 15. And I'm really sorry for anyone that's watching that it may trigger. Yes, so.
No. I just want to 6 years old. What the heck was going? What were you doing? What was going on for you? As you were going through these years in your mind, just stepping it back, slowing it down, and taking time to just think about that. So that we can understand and link with, or try and get a picture in our minds. What was happening for you? How did you?
I learned how to disassociate.
disassociate.
Disassociating was the key thing for me, and kept me sane outside of that that abuse that was happening. So I once it was over, it stayed there in the back of my head somewhere. I don't know where, but as soon as it started, I would go somewhere else, and then when it finished, I would be back to the Donna that I am, that was surviving, coping. You understand?
Yeah. And so when was there a time when you, or was it straight away when you knew this is not right? Did you know as a child, or was there specific things that happened, or?
I was actually sexually abused once before. No, sorry. No, I wasn't. No, it was during the time. Sorry, can you repeat that question again?
Yeah, so was there, did you, and what was your, like, so this thing is happening, like, ongoing, nearly every night. Did you know it was wrong? Did you have an inkling, or did you understand, or was it just what was happened, or what was that kind of thinking?
I knew it felt wrong.
Yeah.
But I had this fear because he actually threatened to hurt me and hurt my mother. So
right. Threat.
The fear kept me shut, closed me up.
So we're just going to hold that, because I can sense now that we are going into this and we're slowing it all down. And I know I'm taking you there. I just want to know that you're safe, and
I'm fine.
We're on the right track, and anyone out there listening, there's numbers to help. So you knew it was wrong. Was there a point? What just carried on and on and on? And was there a point where you told somebody, or you tried to give signals to reach out for anybody for help, or kind of let them know that something was not right?
Yeah, I did tell a few people. I think actually there was one person that I told, and she was amazing, because she was my best friend, my childhood friend. So she would she specifically remembers one time that I had come out and we were sitting on the footpath, and we grew up in Otara, and she I just blurted it out to her, and I said, "Oh, you did it again." And she turned to me and she said to me, and we were only probably 8 or 9, and she just turned to me and just said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah." And then I just got up and said, "Let's go play." That's how I could just disassociate and just leave it where it was, like I told her. But when I told her, I actually made her promise to never, ever tell anyone. And to this day, she never did. So, yeah. I told her, I think I hinted to people, but I didn't actually outright tell them like I did my best friend.
What were some of the, do you remember, only if you remember at any point in time, what were some of the ways in which you were hinting? Because I think this is important for people to also hear, so that when we're around others or our family or anybody else, that what are the hints? What kind of language? Is it language? What were the hints that you were dropping that maybe we miss when we're with people or with family or with, what are those hints?
There was one time that I remember distinctly, and he was sexually abusing me. It was during the day. I don't know why, but I don't know if he made me stay home from school or what, but he was home with me. And during his act, there was a knock at the door, and that person came walking in. Now, we were in the lounge, and I was, he covered me up, and he was sitting there next to me with no top on. And my uncle came through the door, and he was talking away like as if nothing was happening. And I remember being behind my stepfather, and the look in my eye was just absolute fear. My uncle didn't pick up anything and didn't think anything was wrong with that and just carried on out the door. And I also had another time when we went eeling, and the same thing, you know, where I could see my uncle, and I kept thinking to myself, why can't you see it? Why can't you see him? You know, and he was doing it right there in the campfire. So my uncle was on the opposite with his daughter, and I was on the other end with my stepfather. So yeah, there are a few people that I think, you know, the fear in my eyes, how I acted, I played up a lot. So, but yeah, no one sort of took the hint. Yeah, my behaviour was, I was quite naughty, but not defiant. Was more, you know, how I acted out. Yeah, waiting school.
Thank you for that. Over the years, as it continued, what do you think was going on for you? Was there a point where did you start thinking, no, that's it, what this is, you know, over those years, like where did it go to? Was carrying on, and then how did it change? Where did it, or was it?
It changed when I ran away from home, basically, at 15.
Right.
Was
So
when
you
it stopped. Yeah, I just got out. I just left home. To me, that was the only way it was going to stop.
And was your mum alive? Was your mum around? Is she?
Yeah.
Did she know you? Did you mention what did mum know? What do you think mum knew? Was she aware?
Do you know what, Faye? I used to that question would run in my head just continuously, and it was like, how can you not feel that he's not in bed with you? You know, in the middle of the night, just things like that. It was like, but my mother did things that, in my view, encouraged it. She would make us have baths with him. Yeah, my mother, I don't know what planet she was on most of her, you know, our lives then. But, you know, my first bra, she made me parade in front of him. It's like, what mother does that? You know, even if it was my own father, why would you do that? You just don't do that. But my mother did, allowed it to happen, I suppose. So whether she knew, don't know, because I've actually had that conversation with her, and she said she never knew. But yeah, I don't know. I still question it.
So from your experience, why you still question it is because of all those events.
Yeah.
It's a hard one, because we know that our mothers, our parents, or the other adults in our lives, they've got their own stuff going on as well as, you know, their own stuff going on, and then this is happening here, and it's just like, but so you've had that discussion with her recently, or a lot, or just what was that like for you how did you bring that up to her?
Okay, in my denial of my abuse, you know, like I had completely blocked it. So when I started having children, I actually let my eldest daughter go and have holiday with her mama. And my daughter would have been probably the same age I was. And we went to go and pick her up after, I think it was a week. And I know my baby, and she just didn't seem right. And I sat there and I talked with her, and I said to her, you know, like I explained to her good touch, bad touch. And, you know, did you know that if anyone touches you, you know, and it doesn't feel right, you can always tell me. And if they, you know, if someone threatens you and says that, you know, they're going to do something to you or to us, me and Dad, you know, I had this 3 hours. I wanted her to fully understand that if anything was happening, to that it was okay to talk with me and it was safe to talk to me. So I and she actually said that he had touched her, that her papa had touched her. I picked up my baby and we left, me and my husband left, and then I rang all my siblings, my full siblings, so my 2 brothers and my sister, and I told them that we need to meet over at Mum's. Can you organise it? So the funny thing is my stepfather's oldest son, my brother, he was the one that organised it and told Mum and my stepfather. So we had a big hui about it. Out of that, because I didn't want to press charges, I got help from my daughter to make sure that, you know, mentally, physically, she was okay. And then what I wanted out of it was that it was to stop. It was not to happen again. As it turned out, my mother did promise it, but it never happened.
So what do you mean it never?
And plus, I made sure that he had to go counselling for his part in what he was doing.
So I'm just gonna, just for clarity. So when you started out this conversation, you said, in my own denial of my own abuse, you allowed your daughter to go and stay with her nana and papa step.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
And then she came back to you. You had the conversation with her, and then she disclosed to you that this had happened, and then you called a whānau hui, and your stepbrother organised it and got everybody together. So you did an in-house whānau plan of attack to deal with this. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. You didn't want to press charges, and you wanted it to stop. Wanted to stop in for him to seek counselling. I'm going to ask you, how did that work for your whānau then? You know, like, because I just want to know, because I know families also that have made their own approach to it without intervention from others, or I guess officials, or, you know, government departments, and there's lots of reasons for why we do that. But I just wanted to know a little bit from you about if you can. You said that it. And I just want to be clear, you said that it didn't work, that he continued, or is that what you meant? So he's
not
still
my daughter. He didn't continue with my daughter, but some of my nieces had been. So, so it was intergenerational sexual abuse. And how I know is that one of my nieces, her mum approached me and asked me if I would press charges. And at that time, I was still in absolute fear. I still had not faced it. I was still healing. I was in counselling. And it was around that time that I was diagnosed post-traumatic stress disorder, bipolar, manic depression, dissociation disorder. And I know there was another one, but I can't remember. So I was dealing with my own head, and I apologized profusely, and I just said to her, I'm so sorry, I can't do it. So I wasn't there for my niece, you know, and that's probably one of my biggest regrets, is not being there for her. So that's how I found out that, there was actually a time that I went to my mother's house, and I didn't know that niece was there. That's right. And I walked into the house, walked into the room, and there he was in bed with her. He says, "Get up, babe." Yeah. He says, "Get up, babe. You're coming with me." So I took her, and then I told my brother, and So that's how I found out about her. And then she was never allowed back with our whānau again. Her mother refused to let her near my parents, my stepfather and mother.
When was the moment for you that you said, you shared with us around the depression, the bipolar, all those dissociation, or, you know, disorders? When was the time when you remember thinking to yourself, was there a moment where you said, that's it, I'm dealing with this, I need to do something? Or was it a build-up of events? Or how did you get to that point when you just said, that's enough, I'm going to take this full on, I'm going to, you know, because a whole lot of things happened. And then your niece, and then there was a strategy put in place that didn't work, and then he was abusing others in the family. There was a whole burden that you carried for so long. When was the time when you said...
Yeah, it was actually a build-up. My best friend's brother, see, we all grew up, they grew up around the corner from us, and her brothers were, around about the same age as my stepfather. And he visited us once. I can't remember exactly what happened, but he ended up in my company, and somehow the sexual abuse came up, and he was so angry. And a social worker, he's also a social worker. I don't know if he still is, but yeah, he was so angry, and he said to me, what? I can't understand why Rangi didn't tell me. And I said to him, because I made her promise not to tell you. And he goes, because I tell you now, if I had known when we were younger, they would have dealt with them, and they would have made it known that, it had happened. So it was him that actually planted the seed for me to press charges, because that's what he talked to me about next, was to press charges.
Is that your... and he was your brother-in-law?
No, he was my best friend, Rangi.
Oh, friend.
It was her brother.
Brother.
And there was a big gap. Like, he was quite a lot older than us.
So he was
it was him that really planted it. Pardon?
Yeah, right. He was the one that put that in and said, and that actually, when somebody said, no, that's it, if I would have known, let's do something. So that power voice, I guess I'm saying, that one voice that said, no, we're going to do something about it. That was the motivating factor, or made you realize like there was support, or what was that? What was it about him saying that?
When he said it to me, like, it never dawned on me to press charges. Never. I didn't want to do it, and it's only because I was still dealing with my own pain. But when he said it, he said to me, I'll be with you all the way. I'll support you. And he made me feel comfortable in that. And I think it was probably only about 6 months later, was when I heard my stepfather was having an affair. And I actually went to see the woman, and I told her, because she was taking care of her granddaughter, and I had this fear that her granddaughter was going to be sexually abused as well. So I went to this person, and I said to I'm not here to judge you, but I'm here to tell you this is the type of man that you're with right now. And then I left her with that, and then I went to my mother, and I just said to her, Mum, he's having an affair. You need to leave. And she refused. And I just said, okay, that's your choice, Mum. If you want to stay here, good on you. But my choice is that I'm going to press charges against him for sexual abuse. And yeah, the next words that come out of her mouth were, if you do that, I'm going to kill myself. So I in turn said to her, Mum, that is your choice, and it's not on my head. That is something that you're going to do, and I will not take blame for it. And then I walked out of her house, and then it was the next day that I went into the police station, press charges.
So you walked into the police station, and what did you say?
I want to press charges against my stepfather for historical sexual abuse. And they talked to me. I remember the interview, and they said to me, in these sort of cases, we need, evidence. And, in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, with this mental case here, because I know sometimes I could be the best wife, the best mother in the whole wide world, but then there were times where I was shit. you know, and I was not a good mother, not a good wife. But yeah, I just thought, you know, if that's not proof enough. But anyway, I said to him, oh, okay. And I thought of my best friend. So I went home after I'd written my statement, and then I rang her and I asked her if she'd be my witness, because she remembered clothing. She remembered, yeah, all sorts of things. And she had an amazing memory. So actually, I wrote my statement with her. She was with me. I went to her home and I sat there, and she allowed me the space to sit there and write my statement. And yeah, and she was my witness. And when the police contacted her, they actually couldn't believe how good a witness she was too, you know. So the case was pretty strong, and there were 18 charges, ended up being 18 charges. So
how can I just ask now, how long after, like how many years later did you press the charges?
I was in my 30s, late 30s, I think, when I pressed charges. Yeah, it was
15 years? Well, no, actually more, eh?
Yeah, my memory's terrible.
Well, it was
Maybe
more than 20 years. If it was ended in 50,
it was in the 90s.
Yeah, right.
Maybe late 90s was when.
I think that's an important point. I just want to share with people that it's never too late to take control and to do something, you know, and for many it is a part, it can be a huge part to the healing process and journey. Some people do press charges, other people don't. It depends on the person, and you don't need to press charges and follow that route all the way in order for self-healing to happen and occur for yourself. But I just wanted to make the point that it's not ever too late, that at any time, any point in time, you can decide. And I think a couple of other things from your journey that I took from that was there was a couple of people, just one or two people that were really strong in support of you for many, many years, that were really close to you, that stood with you during that. Your friend, and then your friend's brother, who, you know, didn't even know, but as soon as he did, he came and made a stand and said, I'll be, you know, some key words, I'll be with you all the way, I'll be beside you all the way. These are some of the things that we can take on board and remember to say, look, if somebody we know or we hear of something, that we can just be there. We can just be there for them. Yeah. So you press charges. Tell us a little bit about that whole, you've written your statement with support of a friend there. She, you know, really important connection there, and put in the statement. How long, what happened? What was the process? Was it long? How were you during that process? How did you stay, I guess, true to that journey, you know, with the pressure? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, when I pressed charges, it got round my township pretty quick. So then became the divide between, and in that township were all my relatives. And yeah, you had some for and some, you know, that some didn't believe, some did believe. And the fact that he was a priest was also, you know, Ratana, he was a Ngāpōtoro. Yeah, it didn't help matters. And so when I pressed charges, one of the things I did do too was I went to the head Ngāpōtoro, and I just said to him, you know, that I've pressed charges, this is happening, blah, blah, blah. He has to stop. You know, well, he needed to not be allowed on the paipai. He needed to not be allowed to take church. But anyway, and then I spoke to him, and he said to me, the best thing I could do is write to the head of the Ratana church. So I did, and gave the whole scenario. He hadn't been charged, you know, he had been charged, but he hadn't been, what do you call it? Guilty, found guilty.
Yeah.
But I wrote a big, long letter to them explaining my situation, all the details. Heard nothing.
You heard nothing?
Nothing whatsoever. Heard nothing.
Wow. Yeah.
Then my uncle, who's this portero, came back to me and he says, "Oh, no, Donna, they're wanting to know how you are." And I said, "Excuse me? Why are they asking you? Why haven't they come to me?" So, my faith in the church was already plummeting. And at that point, I wanted nothing to do with that church. And yeah, I was never ever, they never ever wrote me back. They never ever talked to me personally. He carried on, services, and he carried on our pai. Yeah. So that was a lot to sort of deal with. And then we also had to deal with the kōrero, the kōrero going around. Because from the time I pressed charges, I think the court case happened probably a year later, and it was a long wait. So as soon as I did my statement, it was done, and then it was about a 12-month wait. So I don't know why, but that's how it happened. So during that time, my kids would get, things would be said. And I just really was, really disappointed in a lot of my whānau for not acknowledging, supporting. It was really disheartening. So, and then the court case finally happened. Sorry, I'm really bad with dates, but when it happened, he had already pled guilty to so many of the charges, and I think there was one or two that he pleaded not guilty to. And when I got to the courthouse, I was terrified. I was literally just a mess. And I remember taking off out of the room that we had to wait in, and just in the stairwell, howling, just an absolute pain, And that was, I think, pain from, because I also had developed, I don't know what they call it, where I loved him, I hated him. It was, so here I was hurting him, but he needed to be hurt. Really conflicting. So anyway, I don't know what happened, but probably half an hour later, they came back and said he pleaded guilty to the whole lot. And so sentencing was to happen. And then the court sent me the whole manuscript of what had happened. And to this day, I still haven't read it.
Right. Okay. Just gonna hold Taiho for a moment there, have a bit of a pause.
Yep.
And I do want to take it back because I've got a question that's come in, and yep. I do want to ask it because I think it's important. It's going to back us up a little bit in the story, but I think it's okay. We can pop back and then drop back into where we are now. So the question over here is, I want to ask a question of Donna, but it's too hard to watch the video. Was she touched or was she raped? Because I was just touched and stuff a couple of times from 7 to 15, and it's always been minimized. Also been no big deal to my family, my siblings, because it wasn't rape, and so I have never pressed charges because I don't feel it's enough. But she did it, and I was just hoping it was okay to ask what happened.
Digital penetration, oral. Yeah, it was the only thing that wasn't done was the actual penetration, because he was huge. It's as simple as as that. There's no way that could have happened. I was too little. But it was digital as well as touching as well as oral. But for that person that asked that question, in my view, it doesn't matter whether you were touched or whether it was penetration. It is still child sexual abuse. it is still damaging to the mind, to the heart, to the soul. So don't ever let them think, them make you think that, don't let them minimize it, because it's a huge thing. I know of a person that was only touched once, and touched, not penetrated, and it ruined her for the rest of her life. So yeah, no, I think your whānau need to do some research on the effects of child sexual abuse, because it's a male, it's an adult pushing themselves on you. No child can handle that. It's as simple as that. No child should have to handle that.
Thanks, Donna, for answering that. I hope that that helps the person that asked the question. All right, so I'm just going to go back now. We're in the timeline where it took a year since making the laying the charges, writing the statement, and you had to deal with the whole small communities divide. Is it true? Is it not true? How did you manage through that time to get, until the courthouse time, till it came up?
Yeah, it's sort of foggy. My family would probably be able to tell you more than I do, because most of that time I was foggy. I was mentally just not capable. Yeah. So I don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No.
I just want to say thank you again for coming and sharing with us. It's really critical and so important that you have had the courage to come and share your journey with us tonight. Really appreciate it. And I know that, like I said, your story is going to impact the lives of many, not just one. But if it's just one, then we've impacted the lives, and we're actually saving some others from potentially the same harm and damage.
Yeah.
So you,
I'm not ashamed of what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm very open about what happened to me as a kid. I'm very open. If someone asks me, I just tell them. I got to a stage, in my adult life where I thought, no, I'm sick and tired of the lies. I'm sick and tired of, things being swept under the carpet. And that's one thing my mother did say to me when he had gone to jail was, why didn't you just sweep it under the carpet? And I just lost it. I just went, what? But that's the problem. We sweep it under the carpet. This is off my thing, but I had someone that I was taking care of, and that person disclosed to me sexual abuse from another person. And so I contacted her social worker, and I said to her, this is what's been happening. This is what she's told me. Can you please do something? Come and, get her counselling, or, just do something. So anyway, a month later, I rang up and I said, oh, what's going on about it? Now, this social worker said to me, oh, well, Donna, we thought it was your father, so we left it at that. I just said, excuse me. I said to her, I don't care if you thought it was my fucking father, my fucking brother, my fucking husband. You do something about it. And next month, they were taken off me. The kids were taken off me.
Wow.
So, yeah. Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, I'm still sort of gobsmacked about that one. I tried to get them help, and no, just never happened.
It shows you it doesn't. It's the inaction is in a whole lot of different places. It's not just in this whānau group or here. It's actually in the system as well. The very people that are put in place to help us. Yeah,
that's right. And and that's not saying that, there's a lot of social workers out there that do an amazing job. But then there's some that I think, you know, whew, you really need to reassess your career choice, you know. So yeah, but
I've got
carry
a
on.
just a special from the anonymous person who wanted to ask the question. Crying. Can you thank her? No one, not even my therapist, has been that staunch in saying how wrong it was. I feel I'm expected to be over it by now and not ruin his life by doing anything so many years later. And yeah, sometimes I'm okay, but sometimes I'm not.
No, I hear her, and her sometimes she's okay, sometimes she's not. You know, that was my whole, from, you know, the age of 6 till, when did I step out of it? 49 was when I actually, it was over for me, and I was healed of that part of my life. But I fully understand and what she's saying, how, you know, some days she's good, some days she's not. You know, I had times where my husband was stopping me from committing suicide, you know. So that's, you know, the effects of childhood sexual abuse is that you just feel that you're not worthy to live, you're not worthy to be loved, when, you know, the total opposite. You're totally worthy and deserving of being loved. You know, it's an inherent thing that we all as human beings are entitled to. Yeah. And she's free to, if you want, I'd like her, you know, if she'd want to talk to me even more, I'm you know, here for her. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You talked briefly about, and we will follow and pick up on that and get that offer, extend that offer of support from you for her, and we'll see where that goes. But you just mentioned, you know, you just dropped in there suicide, like, you know, it's just it's one of the impacts. Like, tell us a bit about the impacts on you, but, you know, for your relationships, for your family, for being a, you know, tell us some of the impact that trauma has had through your life, because you actually said it wasn't until I was 49 years old that I was actually had dealt with that part, that piece of trauma, that part of my life, and could, you know, carry on in my life with that done. So what was some of the other impact?
Yeah, the impact on my family was huge, and I'm talking my husband and my children. It was huge, because not only was I mentally not sound with the abuse effects, but also of physical abuse from my mother. So I was like my mother, hit first, speak later, you know, and that's how I dealt with shit. Is I had all this anger inside me from the abuse, sexual abuse, but also I had no other skills on how to parent. And yet sometimes I was, and like my kids have said that to me, you know, sometimes you were the best mum that there could ever be, you know. I refused to have any alcohol in my home. My children grew up in an alcohol-free home. My eldest was 15 when she found out what a pub was, because we lived bush, you know. We did smoke marijuana, and I remember being 32 was when I actually started smoking it. I tried it when I was 14, 15, but then when I was 32 was when I actually started smoking. Now, the rules in my house were, you smoke outside, you don't smoke inside, you don't smoke during the day, only at night. So that was how we, you know, we had rules along with our, I don't know, playtime was that. But alcohol was a definite no-no, because I knew the effects of alcohol. I grew up with the effects of alcohol, and, you know, that rippling effect alone, which I think if it wasn't for alcohol, I probably would have never been in the position that I was as a kid. So that was a no-no in my house. But the brunt of all my anger went to my husband, you know, and yet he is the most gentlest, most understanding, most loving man that I have ever met, you know. That was towards me as well as our children. Best father, best husband. And then one day over here, because we came here in 2011, and the reason why we came here was because my stepfather was being released from jail in 2011. So we came here to start a new life. So yeah, we got here, and a couple of years later, 4 years later, we were moving, sort of like moving a long distance, so 600 k's away from where we were. So I went first, and then he came later. Was supposed to come later, but he rang me 2 weeks later, and well, not long after, and said that it was over. And what really hit me was that he said he wanted to be happy, and he was tired of my depression, of my mental illnesses. And that, in my view, was actually worse than the sexual abuse I had endured, because I adored my husband. I adored him. I worshipped the ground that he walked on, you know, because of what he did for me and how he balanced me as a person as best he could. And yeah, so that was like, whoa. So, you know, when they say you hit rock bottom, that to me was my rock bottom. So it was at that point, after I did my sulking and crying, and, you know, my heart was broken in a million pieces, I thought, okay, I got to step out of this, you know, I got to stop this. And one thing he always said to me is, you know, stop letting what he did to you control the rest of your life, you know. Be happy. You know, he always tried to say that to me, and I could never get it. I could never understand, you know. How, you know, yeah. So yeah, so what I started doing is I started walking, and I was 115 kilos, and I started walking, and then probably a month later, I noticed I was losing a bit of weight, and then I would listen to binaural beats. So anything that had a positive tone, that's what I'd listen to as I was walking. I went and got crystals that were to help me with my feeling depressed and feeling so broken. What else did I do? I mainly worked on my spirituality. But yeah, that's when I really decided that I was gonna heal from the childhood sexual abuse, and I was determined. But I have to admit, in order to fully heal, I needed to forgive. So I needed to forgive my mother, and I needed to forgive my father, my stepfather. And last year I started Reiki. My journey was Reiki, and in Reiki 2, we did a meditation where we were to forgive everything and everyone, you know, to be able to move on and be a really good Reiki healer. And in this meditation, it just blew me, because I was sitting there with my group of friends who were all studying with me. And then he walked us through a meditation where it started with myself, then the group of people that we were with, then our families, then our, you know, and then it just went out and out. And then it got to the spiritual realm, to our ancestors. Anyway, the tears, by the time I hit that one, the tears were just pouring. And because I saw him, I saw my stepfather. He passed away a couple of years ago, and I saw him, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I said, yeah, okay, I forgive you. So even though I thought I had forgiven him, like now, you know, in the now, it still wasn't quite done. I found that I needed to forgive him at a soul level. He needed me to forgive him at a soul level. And that's when I truly let it all go and forgave. and at the same time, I forgave my mother for her part in it, I actually wish that my stepfather was alive, because I would go and see him and I would, tell him, I love you. And my mother, I always tell her now that, I love you. And that's how comfortable I am in me and in the whole situation. And another thing that my tutor taught me was that everybody's, you know what you're going to do when you get here. You know before you come here what you're going to do, and how your life is going to pan out. And he said, and every single person that you cross paths with, they're there for a reason. And he actually said to me, before we had that meditation, he actually said to me, he was one person out of probably thousands that agreed to take the path he had to take, even though it meant hurting you to the core. And I sort of thought, oh, no, my head was just, I was like, whoa. And he said, so he knew full well he was going to have to hurt you. And he's the only person that would take on that task. So when we had that meditation and I saw him, I was fully forgiving in what he did to me. So, and how it affected me. I still work on it now. I'm not, I still fall back mentally. I do things that, take me back a bit, but I don't live there like I used to. Like I used to live there for months. Now it's about, by the time I get to my room and do my Reiki, 5 minutes later, I'm fine. And yet I used to sit in it for months, way back when I wasn't healed. So,
you mentioned some, some of your modes or strategies or way in which you've dealt with the healing or that's helped you with your healing, and that whole spiritual healing, the spiritual, the wider, that space is often overlooked with conventional methods of hinengaro, counseling, psychology, all those things. But this is, healing the spiritual soul wounds that you mentioned, and that through that is the Reiki and the other aspects of strategy, the things.
The thing is help you. I wasn't home as well, so I couldn't access my own cultural things, and I had to find things that here in Perth, and they worked pretty well. I'm quite happy with the way they worked, but it would have been awesome to do it with my people, with how we dealt with the, what is it, tapawha, te wheke. It would have been beautiful to heal that way, but what I did helped. So
yes, that's right. So there's a question there from Tina, and I'll just bring that up on screen so you can see that too. I'll read it out. How would you recommend forgiving someone who has passed and you have never had the opportunity to talk to them before they passed?
You know what? Meditation is just an amazing thing. Meditate and ask your guides, ask your tupuna to guide you. And, me personally, I would meditate. I would go in and I would ask, and tell them I forgive them. I would summon them basically in my meditation and ask that, and tell them that I forgive them. But, I believe that he already knows, or that person already knows.
Awesome. Now we've got a few more minutes, but we didn't get to actually the result. Well, what happened as a result of the court process and going to court and charging him, and that took a year. You managed and navigated and coped through that whole thing. There was the whole dealing with the community and the different whānau and a small community. Then, and what about the results? What were the results? Tell us what happened as a result of you.
He served full sentence. He got 11 years, and he served the whole 11 years. Because I actually did, when he came up for probation, I actually wrote a letter, and I did a lot of study on recidivism. I looked at avenues where he could be helped. And one of them that came up was one that was done in Sweden, a research study that was done in Sweden, where they used the Te Tawera to stop a man from sexually, the sexual desires. That's what it did to a man, is it stopped them. So yeah, I sent through this big file. They had to apparently photocopy it 52 times. I don't know how many, but yeah. And then I heard that, he didn't make parole. So that's one of the reasons, that was, I think, because I'd done my homework. But yeah, wow. So he served full time.
Yeah.
And then came out and then had to face my whānau. Because when I came to Aussie, they also had a marae thing where he was caught onto the marae and things were put into place in order for him to be able to go to our marae and participate in anything on our marae.
Right. And then more support from the community. Who was driving that?
I think it was the Department of Corrections.
Oh, right. It was like a restorative kind of process. Department of Corrections.
Because my mother still lived in the area, he wanted to be able to come back to the area. So one of the things that had to happen was that he had to, wānanga with the whānau and the people of home.
Wow. Awesome. Wow. Where are you now? Tell us about what you're doing now. So I know a little bit about we're just over time, but I do want to hear some of the cool stuff around what you're doing. Would be really nice as well.
The good thing is my husband and I are back together, and it'll be 38 years this year. I actually, at the moment, I make these things here, which are called Orgonite. Amazing for EMF, plant growth. You know how we have Modi, and then you've got Chi and Prana? That's what this actually makes. So it draws in positive, negative energy, and it transmutes it and turns it into positive energy. So yeah, draws in negative and turns it into positive energy. So that's one of my big things that I do at the moment. And I am actually a Reiki Master. I do numerology. I'm right into my spirituality stuff. So I do numerology reports. I do tarot, but not face to face, because when I do face to face, I get nervous. So yeah, so that's where I'm at the moment. Just being able to do what I want to do, because I'm actually a qualified chef and I hate cooking. Hate it.
So where can we access some of your mahi, your work? It is amazing.
I've actually got a page on Facebook. It's called Wahine Wellness. Yeah, so yeah, you can access it there. But I'd rather teach you to make these things than to sell them to you. And I must admit, though, I am the cheapest I've ever come across. Everyone else is really expensive. This is probably I think it's about 120, and I only charge 45. And well, I don't, because I end up giving away half of, something else with it.
What is that about?
I'm not going to be a millionaire because I keep giving things away. My Reiki, I do that for koha. I'm actually able to teach as well. And if you approach me, and I accept koha. Yeah. Because I believe that everyone should be able to access it.
Just beautiful. You're amazing. That's amazing how incredible your journey has been. And now to see and experience and hear where you're at right now is absolutely incredible. What an amazing journey. Awesome for you coming and sharing with us tonight. So is there anything else you want to share with us before we wrap up?
To anyone else who's been sexually abused, if you ever want to talk, I'm here. You can access me through Benita. Don't ever allow people to minimize what happened to you. Never. Don't ever. because it is a huge thing, and it's a hard thing to live with. But yeah, all I ask is that don't wait for 30, 40 years before you really understand, like, don't let what happened to you as a child control you. And I wish I knew what I knew at 49. I wish I knew at 20. Because, yeah, if I had known that, I would have been a lot better. Although I have no regrets with my life.
Yeah. We get to where we are absolutely perfectly.
That's right. Exactly.
We do. We get here perfectly wherever here is for us in this moment.
Yeah.
Well, that's us, Donna. And I know you were a little bit nervous at the beginning, but what an incredible sharing tonight. What an incredible testimony that you have, and powerful sharing tonight. I just want to do a big mihi. Ngā mihi nui ki a koe te tuakana te mare kura. Thank you for coming on and having a chat with me. It's been an incredible past hour. I know there's so much more we could share, and maybe in the future when we get you over to come and teach us Reiki or whatever it is the next connection that we have together is, or teaching us how to make the Orgonites. Is that it?
Yep.
Yes. Checking
Yep.
my but I'd love to stay connected in some way, and I'll drop your Facebook page in the comments after this, and just a big mwah, thank you very, very much for sharing with us tonight, and we'll touch base again soon. So ngā mihi nui ki a
Thank you for
koe.
having me.
You're
Ka
so
kite.
welcome. Ka kite. Wow, whānau, what an awesome wahine toa she is, and a blessing for me to be able to share space with you tonight here on Ihi, Intuitive Healing Intelligence platform, bringing you stories from darkness to light, inspiring, courageous conversations with survivors of childhood abuse and trauma. That's me, Sister B. I am absolutely buzzing with inspiration and love and humility, and in awe of the conversations that Donna shared with us. So thank you also for joining us. If you want to take up the invitation, Donna has said that she will have a conversation with you or anybody else that wants support, or just to ask you more questions from this tonight. So we will also drop her comments, her page in there, and just brilliant. When we uplift, give space, and stop and pause, your story, my story, and all of our stories could be the key that unlocks someone else's prison. So ko au tēnei e mihi atu ana, e mihi aroha atu ana ki a koe, ki a koutou katoa, mauri ora ki a tātou katoa. Ngā mihi nui, pōmari e tātou.